Hey friends, I hope your week is off to a great start. Today is my final video of 2019, and I know not everyone sticks around until the end of the video, so I wanted to get started by saying thank you. I really appreciate you spending time with me each week. This year has just been so incredible, seeing familiar names and faces commenting on videos, asking questions, liking, sharing, subscribing, watching the audience size grow. It's been just a really cool experience. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it, and I'm so excited about 2020. Today, I'm going to be testing out Rick Martinez's recipe for obscenely chocolatey chocolate cookies. This is the cookie recipe that I've been waiting for months, so I am thrilled that it's finally posted online. And without any further ado, let's get into it. This recipe starts at the stove making some brown butter, so let's make that. I've got my 2 sticks of butter melting over medium-high heat, and we are going to cook this just until those milk solids are nice and toasty and brown. Whenever I'm making brown butter, I like to do it in a sauté pan or a frying pan, and I like this for 2 reasons. So first, you've got a lot more surface area exposed to the air. That allows the water in the butter to evaporate more quickly, which needs to happen before the butter will start to brown. And second, you've got a lot more pan exposed to the heat. So it heats the butter up more quickly, it gets those milk solids toasted a little bit faster. So I just like it more, it feels a lot more efficient. The downside to using a pan like this is your butter can go from brown to burnt in the blink of an eye. So you need to be super diligent in keeping an eye on your butter, or you risk burning it. So the spurting bubbles mean that the water in the butter is starting to evaporate. So this means that the browning is going to start happening any minute. So at this point, keep a super watchful eye on what's going on with your butter. So you can see that those milk solids down at the bottom are just starting to get a little bit toasty. So I'm going to keep stirring and keep a really watchful eye on that. I'm starting to smell that kind of toasty, nutty smell that comes with brown butter, so that's another good sign that we're getting very close to where we want to be. All right, and I think that I like it right about there. So I got it off the heat. All right, so this brown butter took just about 10 minutes to make, so now we need to let this cool down a little bit before we can use it. So I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator just for about 5 minutes. So while the brown butter chills out in the refrigerator, we can prep the rest of the ingredients for the dough. Here in a mixing bowl, I've got some AP flour, baking soda, and to that I'm going to sift in some Dutch processed cocoa. With cocoa, it's always a really good idea to sift it because as you can see, it's very lumpy. And if you don't break up these lumps while sifting, they're going to be in your final cookie. And biting into a pocket of dry cocoa powder is not pleasant. And now we're going to whisk this all together just to get it evenly incorporated. And that takes care of the dry ingredients. Let's move on to chocolate. So the recipe calls for chopped chocolate bar in the cookie. However, I love these chocolate wafers. So I'm going to be doing a hybrid method here. The bulk of my chocolate's going to come from these wafers. I just really like how they melt and form kind of ooey gooey puddles all throughout the cookie. So 6 of my 10 ounces are going to be these wafers. The remaining 4 ounces will be 1 bar of dark chocolate. And I'm using this because I want to have the big chunks of chocolate on the top of the cookie, just like BA said to, so this will give me the same visual aesthetic. I need half of this for the top of the cookies and half of it for inside the cookies. The half that's going inside the cookies needs to be coarsely chopped. So I'll pop this chocolate in with my wafers, and we'll save those to mix into the cookie dough. And then for the top of the cookies, I need about 20 squares of chocolate. These will be the big chunks that go on top of the cookie. Like Crisp Morocco, I hate all the messy chocolate shavings. However, they are delicious inside of a cookie, so maybe it's worth it. So the brown butter was in the refrigerator for about 5 minutes. It's cooled down a bit, but it is definitely still warm to the touch on the bottom. So now to this, we're going to add our dark brown sugar, granulated sugar, and kosher salt. So we're going to dump this in, and then we just need to whisk this to get it all incorporated. And I'm actually going to use a silicone spatula here so that I can smush any lumps of brown sugar. And that looks nice and combined to me. Now we're going to add the room temperature eggs one at a time. And we need to thoroughly whisk this until it's incorporated. Okay, that egg looks nice and evenly incorporated here. We'll add in the second egg and we'll whisk to incorporate again. So that looks evenly incorporated. Now we can add in our pure vanilla extract and we'll give it a final whisk to combine. So all the pieces are ready. We've got the wet, the dry, and the chocolate. So we're going to dump the dry ingredients in all at once. And we want to mix this together just until it's combined. Overworking the dough will result in a tougher cookie, so mix just until those dry ingredients are evenly incorporated. I'm using kind of a lazy folding method here. I'm going kind of under over, and I'm twisting the bowl as I mix. And that looks homogeneous to me. So now we can go ahead and dump in 8 ounces of chocolate and then just fold these through to get them evenly distributed. So we've got the chocolate evenly incorporated throughout the dough, but we need to let this rest at room temperature for 1 hour before scooping. You can tell that the dough is really loose right now. So as this sits for an hour, the flour is going to hydrate and this dough will stiffen up and act more like a normal cookie dough. The dough's been resting for exactly 1 hour. You can see that it's thickened up quite a bit and looks more like a normal cookie dough. So we're ready to scoop this out. So the recipe calls for a 3 tablespoon portion of dough. My OXO medium cookie scoop that I always use is 1.5 tablespoons. So I'm just going to do 2 of these. I'm going to gently roll this to fuse the 2 scoops of dough together. And the final step here is just pressing the chunks of chocolate onto the tops of the cookies. So now I'm just going to pop this into my preheated 375-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes until the cookies look set around the outside but still gooey in the center. And then while the cookies are still hot, we need to bang these on the counter to help flatten them out a bit. So here we go. All right, and I think these look appropriately deflated, so I'm gonna let these cool down for about 10 minutes. The cookies have cooled for about 20 minutes, so they are down to room temperature, and this is the finished product. So you can see beautiful glossy pools of chocolate sitting on the top. The cookie is nice and set all the way around. It's a little bit puffy still, but overall it's got a really nice profile. Looks like it's going to have some nice chew and thickness to it. This cookie is looking super gooey and I cannot wait to dig into it. So let's go ahead and break it in half and see what that looks like. Wow. Okay, so it is super soft, super gooey. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. And the texture inside looks slightly undercooked, which is definitely on me because I pulled this out at 9 minutes. But I like a chewy, gooey cookie, so I think this is going to be a good thing. Let's see how it tastes. Oh my God. Wow. Super rich and chocolatey. The texture of this is incredible. It's a little underbaked in a good way. It's very kind of almost like a brownie batter kind of flavor and texture going on with a little bit of a crisp and a chew on the outside. It's definitely living up to its name. In the contrast of the kind of sweet cookie with that bittersweet chocolate pool on the top, it's a really nice flavor sensation. That brown butter is coming through really well. Definitely not a subtle flavor. It's very noticeable. With the amount of brown butter flavor and the amount of pooly, gooey chocolate that's going on here, it really reminds me a lot of the brown butter toffee cookie, just without the toffee and with a whole lot more chocolate. So I think that's definitely a good thing. It's incredible. I mean, there is like chocolate obviously in every bite from the cookie, but there's so much mixed in chocolate that every bite has a little bit of a chocolate pool in it too, whether it's the visible pool on the top or it's like a hidden chocolate wafer on the inside that's melty and gooey. And I know from past experience that those internal puddles never fully set. So you're always going to have a really gooey eating experience, which I absolutely love. So overall, I am really happy with this cookie. The gooiness, the chewiness, the combination of flavors and textures, it's really got everything going on, and I am a huge fan. That said, it does not replace a good classic chocolate chip cookie recipe, so Chris Morocco's recipe is still going to be in the mix for me. But if you need a really good cookie for a holiday party, a cookie swap, a baking contest, this is probably a guaranteed winner. I have never had anything so rich in my entire life, so I'm a huge fan and I would definitely recommend that you give it a try. I really hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please be sure to give me a big thumbs up and click subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next year.